Are you Tony's Stank?
Well, hello and welcome back. We are back with our delivery for Tony Stank episode, discussing episode 7 of What If, which posed the question: what if Thor was an only child, didn't have his brother Loki by his side throughout his life? So, an interesting episode. We'll kind of talk about it, but in the meantime, I just want to say thanks again for all the support you guys are giving me. It's incredible. It's so humbling to be able to chat to you guys about a topic I love, and for you guys to show me when you're watching or listening and stuff. It means the world. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Again, just we've got a couple of days left before I do the draw for the Marvel merch for the pop, the Captain Carter pop that I have here. Again, if you're watching, you can see this. If you're not watching, you aren't able to see this. But it's a what if Captain Carter pop. If you want to get put in the draw for it, if you can subscribe on Ko-fi for as little as £2 a month. You can make it more if you wish. You don't have to, and you'll just get entered into the draw. There's going to be more stuff coming for people that do subscribe as well. There's going to be more things in the future, so please feel free to do that. The links are in the link tree. If you want to do that, that'd be absolutely fantastic. There's only 2 folk I think that have signed up so far. So if you do want to do it, you've got a decent chance of potentially winning a pop. But yes, let's get into the episode. Let's talk about what if episode 7. What if Thor was an only child? Okay, so episode 7. I want to give a bit of transparency just before we go into the episode. My initial thoughts on the episode: I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy this episode. There was bits of it to like, and I wanted to like it, but I just thought it was cheap. I just thought for the most part it was cheap laughs. Some things were funny, and there was some really good little interesting cameos and little Easter eggs and stuff like that, but I just felt it was, I don't know, I didn't feel it hit as hard as the other episodes have, or it wasn't as interesting from a story point until obviously the end. The end saved it. If it didn't have the ending, it does. If it didn't have anything as intriguing as that, I would be saying don't even bother watching this episode probably. So so you'll see as we go through the episodes why I'm not as passionate about this episode as the other ones. And it was so frustrating for me because, as I say, I really, really wanted to like it. We're coming to the end of the series, you know, there's literally 2 episodes left. So I was hoping for, I don't know if that's why, I don't know if I was hoping for something that was like a absolute barnstorm or something that would blow my socks off, but it didn't. It really didn't do that to me. And it's interesting because, as we'll see later, a lot of you guys loved it. A lot of people I spoke to on Twitter absolutely loved it. So it was interesting for me to see that side of it when I knew for sure that I didn't like it at all. But that's me. That's just me. That I could be completely off. I might have missed something. But yeah, it just didn't. It didn't do it for me like others have. And even the weaker ones, the other ones, you know, they had something redeemable about them. They had something that for me was like kept me interested the whole time. Even if there was some weak points, it was mainly there was something interesting that kept me hooked. This one didn't. Just didn't at all. Yeah, just the whole party Thor thing I thought was really played out. And yeah, it felt to me like they were almost running on fumes a little bit and didn't really know what to do. It's almost like they came up with a concept and thought, you know, something, this could be pretty fun, and then didn't know where to go with it. as a, the only place they could go with it was party. Because that's what obviously runs the most of the episode. I would love to see more about the relationship between Thor and his family without Loki. Um, you know, we only got to see a little bit of that at the start, and then a little bit of that kind of when Jane goes to see Frigga, and then Frigga talks to Thor through like a Bifrosty kind of LED screen or whatever. But we didn't see much of him in his relationship with his family, which I thought was a missed opportunity, really. Again, that's just me. That's just me. Right, so let's get into the episode. So if you see me with a sad face, or if you hear me, if you hear the tone of my voice going a bit off, a bit disinterested, then that's why. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's one of those things. Media is subjective. Some of you don't even like this podcast, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. I know. That's probably really hypothetical, because you guys love this podcast. But anyway, let's get into it. So we have the title screen. As I said, the title scenes, you get an idea of who's going to be in the episode, and potentially some surprises, or maybe not spoiled, but maybe a bit more like not ruined either. Just you pick up some of the surprises. So we've got Hemsworth back, Chris Hemsworth as Thor, Natalie Portman's back as Jane. So the first name that pops up that kind of surprised you is Tom Hiddleston. So Tom Hiddleston's back as Loki. We'll see what kind of Loki it is, obviously. Kat Dennings, Samuel L. Jackson, Jeff Goldblum as well. That obviously was a surprise for myself. We knew he'd be the Grandmaster. It's who he plays, obviously. And then the kind of usual folk. Taika Waititi as well. His name was bandied about. Again, I feel like he was wasted. I feel like Korg was wasted. And not glug drunk wasted. Like his character was wasted in this episode. And then Karen Gillan, Jamie Alexander, Seth Green. So obviously knew that Howard the Duck was back, and yeah, that was kind of the titles that mattered to me. So I was like, off the bat there, I was like, interesting. We've got Grandmaster, we've got Howard the Duck. We've actually got obviously Thor and Jane and Loki. Great. We'll get to see how the relationship went without Thor being part of without Loki being part of the family. Obviously we don't see that. I know what you mean. But yeah. So yeah, I'm sorry if I sound annoyed, but yeah, I feel like there's a lot of wasted potential with those characters, especially like Taika Waititi. Korg. You know my Korg accent, my Korg impression, and how much I love Korg. And if you don't know, my name is Coke, and I'm made of rocks. See? It's almost like Korg's in the room with us. Okay, so we start off in the New Mexico desert with what is the opening scene to the Thor film as well. The van sit in the middle of the desert. Darcy and Jane are in, and they're eating and seeing some sort of astronomical abnormalities that they then think is an alien invasion. There is an interesting shot here because I know one of the things that Thor is known for is the Dutch angles that Kenneth Branagh used a lot of, and it's so divisive. Sorry, it's so divisive. Some people love them, some people hate them. I believe it's quite an older drama-y style of shot and way of shooting a film. So Jane talks to or tries to phone Shield and asks them about tells them about the fact that there's potential alien invasion and how there was the star that collapsed not long ago, but it's given a similar sort of readings. She's actually phoned the Parks Department, but she says they're not something you could do. We get a Dutch angle here. So we get a Dutch angle when Darcy and Jane both pop their head out of the truck. and see the like Bifrost go flying over the top. And Darcy does this "They're here," which is from a reference to I think it's Poltergeist when the girl's looking at the TV. Now, there's quite a lot of references here to other in this episode. There's quite a lot of references to other films and TV shows, and of course other Marvel properties. That was quite a cool little sort of reference, I thought. So the Bifrost lands in fabulous Las Vegas, and there is an Elvis impersonator at the side of the Bifrost. Of course, that Elvis impersonators are only known to be in Las Vegas. That's their hub. That is their that is their mother nest. Is the Las Vegas Strip. So out of the Bifrost comes Thor and his crew. It looks quite menacing. It looks like Thor's a way to a way to take over Las Vegas, similar to how Loki did in Germany in Avengers. But then he then he tells them that he's here for the party prince. That's a pretty it's a pretty fun way of introducing him, I think. To be fair, the party prince side of things, I think it could have worked. 100% could have worked, and it could have been funny, but it did feel forced later on. Techno music starts, and the humans, the people start dancing away, and then we go up and see our watcher, who describes to us what we're watching right now. The watcher, again, he is in the clouds. We see him from this angle most of the times. I said he's been getting closer and closer and closer to us. So we're looking at him a lot of times. But it then moves to being behind the watcher, looking down with him. Which I thought was, again, an interesting thing. This is probably the closest we've actually been to him. In fact, we were probably we were literally looking over his shoulder as if we were kind of like behind him, which is not really something that we've seen before. He looks up at the stars and tells us about how this is now a Thor that has not had his brother Loki in his life, which changes the fates of the universe. Loki taught Thor lessons in childhood. I'm guessing it's things, things like shreds of dignity and thinking of others and that sort of thing. But he hasn't had that sort of relationship in here, so he's basically a spoiled only child. So Odin, instead of taking Loki in and raising him his own son, he returned Loki back to Jotunheim and Laufey, the frost giant. So this means that Thor is now like a bit more of a stubborn, spoiled kind of person. We move to Odin, getting put into his Odin sleep with Frigga and Thor by his side. Thor isn't even interested. He's, picking at his nails, looking at his nails, and Frigga's talking about getting him into Odin sleep. The choir starts their beautiful melancholic kind of song, and Odin, Mr. Anthony Hopkins, closes his eyes, and you even see Thor pop up from behind him, and Frigga pokes at Odin to make sure that he's asleep. So, like, Frigga here then basically, as soon as Odin's shut his eyes, shoots off with her pals, and says she's off to her sisters to celebrate the solstice. So again, this is another part of the family thing that we see that I would have loved to, whether it's before Odin's sleep, could have seen how Frigga is, how Thor is with Odin. I understand that this shows us that Frigga is kind of not the same as Thor, but isn't as concerned, or isn't as it doesn't feel as responsible for things once Odin's in his Odin sleep. because basically she just bolts as soon as he's sleeping, which for me really kind of annoyed me. It really did. So yeah, I think it would be interesting to have seen them before the Odin sleep. But yeah, I'm trying to be upbeat about this. I'm trying to be upbeat about this, but this is one of the things that really annoyed me. So yeah, Frigga and her pals, they bolt off and essentially tell Thor that he's now acting king, or looking after the night, or looking after the Asgard, and needs to stay and study, and there's no parties and stuff like that. So again, this is something where I'm like, she obviously knows what he's like. She knows that he's a party Thor, and she knows that he's not going to take things seriously. So why is she bolting to leave with her pals and go to her sisters if she can't trust Thor to do what he should be doing when Odin's asleep? Listen, if I was Odin, I would not be having this happening. I would rule with a strong but fair fist. Listen, that's how it's done. That's how it's done. I run a tight ship, not a shite tip. Okay. So Frigga essentially leaves all the responsibility to watch over Thor to Heimdall, and says that Heimdall will be watching. We don't actually get to hear Heimdall speak, so we don't, Idris Elba isn't back. And of course, I forgot to say with Frigga, it's not Rene Russo. It is someone else that does her voice. Yeah, so Frigga bails. Frigga takes the Bifrost with her pals, and it goes off to drink wine and do whatever they want to do. Heimdall is told by Thor that he's away to go and study and look after things. But Thor has other ideas and leads his crew to the deep depths of Asgard. They walk through Odin's treasure room, where he has the Infinity Gauntlet, which we found out in Ragnarok was actually a fake. Hela basically pushed it over and says it was a fake. And yeah, they go into this massive hall, or these massive doors that open up to a hall, and start the party. Start drinking. They then talk about how they're going to go to the most backwards planet that Heimdall doesn't even bother to look at as his party on Midgard, and then we go back to Las Vegas. So that's interesting to hear that Heimdall isn't even, Heimdall's might be watching the Nine Realms, very much like the Watcher does, but he's not even bothering with Midgard. So sorry, Heimdall, you can't see that, mate. Yeah. So yes, they're in Las Vegas having a wee party. A mixture of, there's obviously people from all over the galaxy here. We see what looks like Ravagers. We see like Skrulls as well. The what's his name? Scourge. Carl Urban's character from Ragnarok. He turns up, and Thor tells him about the beer. Have a drink, it never runs out. Obviously referring to Doctor Strange, the Doctor Strange reference that in Ragnarok, where Thor is obviously drinking his beer and drinks it and magically just fills back up again. Okay, then Thor is a chant starts for him from the baying masses, and we see all these spaceships up in the sky. So there's a mix of different spaceships. We kind of spoke about the ones that were in like the collector's garage for the second episode. It's very much similar. You have like ones from the Grandmaster's collection. You have ones from Asgard. You have the Skrull ship and stuff as well. So yeah, a nice little Easter egg there. Then Darcy and Jane appear, and are kind of surprised by what they're seeing in this on Las Vegas Strip. Jane, with her little tablet thing, her iPad, works out that the first extraterrestrial to arrive is Thor. So part of Thor who's chatting to a couple of Skrulls and then does his little hair flick, which I can't do because I don't have any hair. Then Jane says, Jane says she expected him to look like, and then Darcy has quite a few little references here. So E.T., Scotty from Star Trek, Ken as well, an Abercrombie catalogue. Darcy for me is one of the strong points of this. A lot of people don't like her character. A lot of people don't like her as a character. A lot of people don't like Kat Dennings' portrayal as her. I do. I think she's really sarcastic and just adds I think it's my humor as well. She just adds a bit of sarcastic humor to the whole shebang, and it works well for me. And then she points out Howard the Duck as well, who, as I say, is Seth Green, returning again from episode 2 as well. Thor is chatting some Skrulls, as we say, and he gets the Skrulls to all change to his face, which again shows the narcissistic side of it that he now he kind of touched on in the Thor film, the first Thor film, but we see here he is a pretty much a full-blown narcissist now, vain AF, and someone touched him behind. We see it from his point of view. He turns around, it's Jane, but he has to look down. He says he doesn't see her. You're all the way down there, kind of thing. So he says, so tiny, almost too new. Now this is kind of where we're really starting to see what Hemsworth is doing with Thor in this one, and it is a completely different character to the Thor that we know. He's a lot more animated, a lot more like, well, it's an animated show, of course he is. He's a lot more extravagant with the way he talks and the things he says and stuff. Which again is because he's not like a normal, he's not being tempered down a bit. He is just this extravagant, narcissistic, annoying person. I was going to say a bad word, but it's a family show, so I'm not going to. He introduced himself to Jane as Thor, Crown Prince of Asgard, and then offers her some appetizers. And we see the Grandmaster and Topaz eating cake, and Topaz has her shaft thing that disintegrates people, which is kind of horrible. Jane puts 2 and 2 together and says, so you're Thor, the Norse god, who he then obviously says he doesn't know anything about horse gods, but he does know how to bring the thunder. That's a great line. And they talk about the star that Jane mentioned at the start of this, Alpha Star Icarus, which was destroyed. And yeah, so she's asking Thor if it was, essentially asking him if it was them that destroyed it. He doesn't say he destroyed it. He says that it was an excellent party, and Fandor was lost for 3 days, found in a barn crawled next to a baby goat. But it doesn't explicitly say here that they destroyed it. And then the conversation then moves on to the tablet that Jane has, the iPad thing. And how it would take a whole team of Asgardians to create this light box, he calls it, and calls Jane a genius. And yeah, he totally turns on the cheese with her, saying how the geniuses always have deep dark eyes, like watching the birth of 2 stars on the edge of a galaxy. And obviously Jane gets all a bit shy and a bit she starts to giggle a little bit. I mean, to be fair, If it was Hemsworth Thor, I understand. But yeah, we then go back to Darcy and Howard the Duck. We go and get happy hour nachos, but it's not a date apparently. It's not a date. There's then like a montage, so we get a party scene where Thor does the Zemo dance with a fist in the air while he's twirling Mjolnir, and Jane is there dancing with him. Grandmaster is DJing. So the song that he's actually DJing is the song that he's playing is a remix of his birthday song from Ragnarok, which is a nice little touch. And we have the music then stops and everyone looks up. And the Grandmaster whispers into the mic, "Release the foam." There's a foam part that starts. Now that's quite a cool little scene. I do like that. I do quite like this montage scene because Nebula is then playing with dice, gets Korg to blow on the dice and throws and wins. They use the water jetpack thing as well. Valkyrie Drax are dancing away. Darcy gets married to Howard the Duck by the Elvis impersonator as well, the guy that we saw at the start. Thor and Jane get tattoos, magic and science, and there's a white blast that leads us into the Hangover, the Hangover part Marvel, where there's a bunch of them in this hotel room in Vegas, still asleep as the sun beams in. Thor on the chaise longue. Volstagg and Sif are lying as well on one of the seats. There's a bunch of possums in with Fendral, and Jane's phone starts going. She gets up, walks past all them, and walks past Rocket in the bathtub as well. Sorry, the sink actually, basically a bathtub in it. And the door goes. And it is Maria Hill, who is now acting Shield director because of something that happened to Fury. And we see a flashback to last night. Fury isn't allowed into like the sort of party thing where Thor is and is shouting at him and telling him it's not your planet to do. And I think this is like the only time we get to hear Taika Waititi as Korg. And it's this is kind of funny, to be fair. He says ball cannons instead of cannonball. Knocks over Fury sending flying and does a cannonball into the Bellagio, I think it is. The fountain bit of the Bellagio or whatever. It looks like it anyway. Yeah. and Fury's still unconscious, so Maria has had to take over. Maria asks Jane if she's got company. And she says that it's a friend. It's obviously Thor is one of them. And we hear Thor in the background saying there's a cute little rabbit in the sink, obviously referring to Rocket, who he's called a rabbit before in the Ragnarok? No. In Infinity War? I think it was Infinity War. Yeah, Infinity War called him a rabbit. So Jane and Darcy make their way to are taken to the one of the Shield helicarriers. And they're kind of working out what to do. The party spreading, says Coulson. It's kind of going all over the world, and it's led by Thor, who's basically flying about places and starting parties and stuff. Jane gets all again. She's not annoyed, but she's a bit like she's a bit wondering why he's left. She asks that he's left and try to keep things try to work out without saying that she slept with him, basically, I think. Obviously not in love with him, but obviously has a yearning for him, for his hammer. I'm talking about Mjolnir. Yearning for his hammer. I'm talking about Mjolnir. Don't worry. They end up in Paris because someone was yearning for a crepe, and Crossbones Rumlow turns up with the last resort, which I wasn't sure where they were going with this. I wasn't sure what the actual last resort was going to be, but as we see, it turns out it's the pager. It's the pager that Fury got from Captain Marvel in Captain Marvel. Funnily enough, Um, and yeah, Maria uses the pager and that's called for Captain Marvel. So we're then taken to Paris where Thor is with the gold ladies from Guardians of the Galaxy, and someone runs. I think Volstagg runs at Thor and shouts, "He's here! He's here!" And it turns out it's Loki. Loki's a frost giant who forebodingly trots up to Thor, looking in like a full frost giant, like a big blue avatar looking guy, and asks where Thor Odinson is. Very uh sort of forebodingly, and there's kind of like a little face off before we then find out that they're actually pals. They're actually really good pals. In fact, Loki calls Thor his brother from another mother, and grabs onto his little finger, his pinky finger. So as I said at the start, this is Tom Hiddleston back as Loki. So like, I get it. I get what they're trying to do here. Again, I feel like it's quite cheap. It's really quite cheap. The sort of subversion that they have here of the fact that we think Loki's the bad guy and they're actually really good pals and stuff like that. The brother from another mother and the brothers forever. Oh, I cringed. I actually cringed. I actually cringed. It was not like, for me, it didn't hit as you know, I don't know. It just felt so forced. Tom Hiddleston even does like a little brothers forever, and nah, it just felt so flat for me. So flat. There's what I think is a shooting star coming to make a wish. Loki makes his wish. Well, we see the shooting star coming down. It's a really cool way that they do it though. So we obviously know it's Captain Marvel. But at the back of the trail coming down, you see like the world, you see Earth, but you see France specifically because that's obviously where she's headed to because that's where they are, and it's like labeled France in big letters. I think that's a pretty cool little animation quirk that really is quite interesting. It's something different that I don't think we've seen before. But then yeah, the meteor comes down, lands right in front of Thor, who spills his beer on himself. We see obviously the figure of Captain Marvel flying there. And she says, "Hey, Whitesnake, we need to chat." Obviously reference to "Here I Go Again on My Own." That Whitesnake. Thor, I don't know what Thor says his name. Well, he says his name's Thor with a T, an R, an O, and an H, but not in the order. And I was like, what? What's the point in that? I didn't quite get that. They kind of have a chat about how it's quite a party he's throwing, and it's sort of quite a civil sort of chat. But Captain Marvel tells him to get cleaned up and get out. Thor tells her to buzz off. And Captain Marvel punches him and sends him absolutely flying. Now, this is one of the plus points from the episode, the whole fight scene with Captain Marvel and Thor. We've spoke before about how the lighting that's used and the fight scenes are kind of are consistently good and consistently like excellent parts. So again, although I didn't enjoy this episode as much, or I didn't enjoy this episode, full stop, the fight scene that they have across the world, it is really cool. It is really, really well done. Again, the actual fighting they have, so like the punch that Captain Marvel does that sends him flying into the air, but then she gets hit by Mjolnir that she's obviously not aware of how Mjolnir works. Thor lobs Mjolnir at her and she kind of ducks it, but starts to essentially tell him, it's one of those, "Oh, you missed me," and halfway through her sentence, Mjolnir comes flying back and smashes in the back of the head. And yeah, a big old battle kind of starts where they they end up at like Stonehenge, where Thor knocks down Stonehenge just by pressing the thing and pressing one of them, and a domino effect happens. They then go flying through into I believe it's the US, the United States. Again, you can see him flying from the UK over to the US desert. Some of the punches there that send him flying down, crashing into the desert with the dust clouds coming up. Thor calls for Mjolnir, but they have to wait, obviously, because Mjolnir's over in the UK. Captain Marvel manages to miss or sort of like move out of the way of Mjolnir coming back this time. And yeah, a big battle with bursts of energy, thunder, from both of them. Again, it's so well done. There's a part where Captain Marvel blasts energy into Thor's face while and holds up Thor's arm with Mjolnir, but he drops it and catches it, much like Arya did to the. If you haven't watched Game of Thrones, you don't know what I'm talking about. But much like Arya did to the Night King in Winterfell, drops it and then smash into the stomach. And yeah, it's again a really well made fight scene with some pretty brutal punches and some pretty brutal kicks and impacts. And Thor tries to blast Captain Marvel with a massive bolt of thunder, but she just takes it, and the energy, it doesn't even move her. The yellow energy radiates off her. It doesn't even move her, and Thor kind of poops himself. So he's obviously never seen something like that before. We know that Captain Marvel is one of the strongest Avengers that there is, is basically the strongest being in the MCU or in Marvel, basically. Again, they have a fight in the skies where they go flying over what looks like Hawaii, and there's like a person sitting drinking a cocktail, reading a book. Punches missed, thrown, and then they end up flying through this sort of. There's like a massive cloud that they fly through. There's sparks of thunder. There's sparks of the yellow energy that radiates off Captain Marvel. We actually get like, not stop motion, but we get a illumination of Captain Marvel's face with the yellow, and then Thor's face with the blue, and then back to dark, and then Marvel's face again. It's such a well put together fight scene. We look up at the clouds and we see the blue and the yellow rumbling as well. It's such a well put together fight scene. They both come crumbling back down to Earth, back to Paris, and Thor then just places Mjolnir right on Captain Marvel's chest. So yes, Thor has placed Mjolnir right on Captain Marvel's chest, so she can't move at all, and talks about how she needs a timeout, and touches on how his mother used to punish him with timeouts, but he never learned a thing, which we're obviously very much aware of, that he has not learned anything. In the background, you've actually got a couple of guys or a couple of people that are dressed as like Celestials, but it's like based on the people that were watching Thor battle Hulk in Sakaar. So yeah, I mean, it's just Celestial inspired, sort of Celestial inspired garb, and then they start calling Captain Marvel a party pooper. And everyone's pointing and laughing and calling her a party pooper and chanting party pooper. Even the Skrulls, who obviously aren't aware of who Captain Marvel is because she did save their people. Or either that or they're just very ungrateful. Probably the latter, these goddamn Skrulls. We then moved to Maria Hill, lambasting Captain Marvel and saying, we're told you were the best. Your punch was equal to 10 nuclear bombs, and your cat could devour whole armies. And Darcy pops in with asking about the cat and the Top Gun references. So the cat's obviously, if you're not aware of Captain Marvel's cat, it's called Goose, and it's like a Top Gun reference. Captain Marvel basically says that she had to hold back because the Earth, or where it was, wouldn't withstand it if she basically went full blast. There would be a massive like Carter that would have happened. Not Captain Carter, but an actual proper physical Carter. Jane gets a phone call from Party Thor, from Mr. Thor. And they're kind of talking about well, he's turned on the charm again. Saying when he's wanting to meet her again, she's the nicest, prettiest Midgardian woman he's ever met. He's a charmer, that boy. He is a charmer. And they talk about how many Midgardian women he's met, and he says 2, but 1 hit him with a bridge and it hurt his face, which obviously talking about Captain Marvel. They then get to the point about the Alpha Star that we spoke about at the start of the episode. And Jane outright asks him if it was him that destroyed the planet, but he does say that it was more of a meteor. It was burning apart, and they just kind of helped it along, but nobody got hurt. But still, it's a bit shitty, isn't it? It's a bit shitty. Jane actually then says "love you," which is pretty cute. So they then decide that, you know, they're not going to have Captain Marvel holding back, and they're actually going to lure Thor into Siberia, and basically do a big old punch in his beautiful face there and then from Captain Marvel with her full blast, basically. So no need for Jane and Darcy anymore. They get shipped off back to the Las Vegas Strip, and Jane tries to call Thor to obviously warn him of what's happening, but Loki, big old Loki's got his little phone, or it's a normal size phone, but for Loki it's a little phone. She tries to obviously warn him, but then Loki actually drops the phone, which crashes from, again, like, try to think about, like, I know in Marvel stuff especially, but animated stuff anyway, like, the continuity is not massive. But I feel like Loki's height here is made to be bigger than it actually is, or size. I don't know. It's just something that stuck out for me. Again, an episode that I wasn't too happy about. I just thought it was one of those things. And then Jane chucks her phone and breaks it. And Darcy makes a good point about calling his mum, essentially. We then have like another, well, Jane decides that that's a good idea, and we have like a little bit of a montagey thing again. We actually see Surtur, the big old demon devilly guy, chatting up the Statue of Liberty and heating her arm off, essentially. That is actually Clancy Brown who's back to play Surtur, from who obviously was in Ragnarok, at the start of Ragnarok, and at the end as well, actually. So he's back. We see Loki and Frost Giants defacing the Mount Rushmore. Surtur's horn gets caught in a couple of wires that then turn off all the power on wherever they are. And then we go to Sydney, where they're all partying on this bridge in the view of the Sydney Opera House. And Thor says he's going to go and slide down the Sydney Opera House. Fires towards it, and is intercepted by our Captain Marvel, who's now taking him over to, as I say, Siberia. Again, it's one of these things, like the lighting is so cool, and the way the way we see them Captain Marvel taking Thor, the lighting at the side that shows him going flying by, Captain Marvel's like bright luminescent eyes and hair. It looks really, really cool. So again, you know, one of the high points. These are the high points of the episode. We'll talk about high points later, but yeah. Darcy and Jane work out a way to contact Heimdall. Obviously they worked out that it's, you know, if there's a Loki, there's a Heimdall. If there's a Loki, a Thor, there's a Heimdall, there's a Frigga, there's an Odin. So which is why they're going to try and get in contact with Frigga. So They manage to work out a way to get Heimdall. Heimdall bifrosts Jane into Asgard, and basically Heimdall knows exactly what she means and bifrosts her straight to Frigga. We go back to Thor, who's now in Siberia with Captain Marvel, with the shield helicarrier looming behind them, and Maria tells Crossbones that they've got the nukes ready. Obviously referring to actual nukes opposed to Captain Marvel's 10 nuke powerful punch kind of thing. Frigga is then Jane then sees Frigga and explains to her the situation. Obviously Thor's gone a bit off the rails and that we need her help. And there's quite a tense scene here where it then goes back to Captain Marvel and Thor kind of facing off in Siberia, and Maria Hill's counting down the background to 1 for firing the nukes. Then there's this really quite an interesting moment where the Bifrost comes down, and it's almost like a screen. It's almost like a FaceTime with where Frigga turns up and gives Thor a telling off, and everyone's surprised that Thor is saying it's his mother, because obviously your mum is the scariest person, or you need to take advice from your mum no matter what. Thor is then a bit unhappy that Jane has sold him out, and he's trying to persuade his mum that he's in his room, even though there's a polar bear roaring behind him. And basically Frigga says, I'm coming to Earth. You need to clean it up by the time I get there, essentially. Thor does say that he's there as a cultural exchange, that he's there to learn, and Frigga says she wants to see the full syllabus when she arrives. So Crossbones in the helicarrier is a bit angry that they never got to fire the nukes, but Maria says that that they're done. They're aware that now Thor has been told off by his mum. He now needs to, or no, they don't need to do anything now because he's going to get sorted. Thor heads back to Sydney, where everyone basically is starting to desert him. Showing that people are literally just there for the party. They're not actually there for Thor. And it's quite sad. It is quite sad, actually. It's that he is obviously he's kind of doing this partying and stuff just purely for, purely for friends, to have people to be with. So there is that that sort of thing where he's essentially he's a lonely guy. He's obviously doing it for attention, for friends, for someone to have, because everyone just bails as soon as he says that his mum's coming. Thor goes kind of all mental with his God of Thunder stuff and screams out, "You listen to me!" Trying to get everyone to help him clean up Earth before Frigga turns up. And as soon as he mentions Frigga, everyone stops and realizes that they're now at the point of no return. We get another little montage of them cleaning things up. Thor cleans up Stonehenge. Some of the ships put back the St. Louis arch. The power that Surtur cut off is then kind of put back, and we see Surtur actually even putting back on Statue of Liberty's arm. Thor sorts out the Mount Rushmore. There's a big Ferris wheel Frost Giant sort out, and he even puts the Leaning Tower of Pisa standing upright, which is a funny little joke there. Obviously, Leaning Tower of Pisa is meant to be leaning. So it's quite a good little joke. Frigga is flying down on the Bifrost, and Thor is trying to wipe off the Thor rocks that's on the side of a thing there. And she lands, and Thor's is literally teaching a class of the people that were at the party. Captain Marvel turns up with a tablet for him, a light box as he called it, with some PBS specials, NPR podcasts, and documentaries. You can tell Frigga is obviously she's not falling for it, but she's going along with it anyway. And then Thor calls on Mjolnir, who turns up with with like a veil and some pictures and stuff on it, obviously from being in Vegas essentially. So it's obviously kind of all clear as to what he was doing. We then go back to the desert, where Darcy and Jane are in the van, and Thor turns up with flowers for Jane, saying that she told him with some other, it's not a cool thing to do, but it was the right thing to do. So yeah, obviously happy ending for those guys, which is what the Watcher tells us as well. You know that it kind of moves up to him, and he says, "A world restored, love blossoming, as children, both human and Asgardians, say, together they lived happily ever after." Now, we see the Watcher blink, which he doesn't. I don't think he's done yet. I don't think he's done before. He actually like fully blinks. So again, it's like his humanity, his human side of his characteristics, and he actually blinks. Now, this is where I think he maybe missed what's the way to happen, because he goes, as soon as he blinks, he goes, "Wait, what?" And he gets a kind of caught off guard. So does Thor, and we see a portal opening with a few robots coming out. Now, these are obviously Ultron sentries. The Watcher says, "Oh dear, perhaps I spoke too soon." And we get the reveal of Ultron, or Ultron Vision, with all the Infinity Stones. What? What? Now, again, I always talk about how I watch New Rockstar before I do my podcast, and one of the things that they came up with, one of the things that they said, was that this Ultron must be from a different universe, because Age of Ultron, so Tony and Bruce creating, using the Mind Stone to actually create Ultron, the AI, hasn't happened yet, because that happened phase 2. Thor obviously happened phase 1. So they don't have that yet. So in another universe where Age of Ultron actually happened and went through, the Vision body wasn't intercepted. Ultron was able to go through his plan and obviously collect the Infinity Stones. He's then also been able to traverse universes or galaxies and make his way into this one. So what has he done to the galaxy or the universe he came from, and how many other universes has he been to? Now, it has been confirmed that the next episode, so the penultimate episode of the series, is going to involve our Ultron Vision that we have just seen. Great. Amazing. I'm so looking forward to that. So, that is the end of the episode. That we get the reveal of Vision's face under the Ultron kind of hood, and he looks menacing. So yes, that is the end of the episode 7. What if Thor didn't have a brother? Now, as I said at the start, I didn't like this episode. I thought it was a really weak episode. One of the worst ones, I would say, from What If. It had a few shining lights, it had a few things that saved it from being an absolute fart of an episode, like from being an absolute like one I would just skip every time. So again, the fight scenes were great, phenomenal, really loved it. Again, the lighting, the animation of the fight scenes, brilliant. I cannot fault them throughout the whole of the series. I cannot fault them for what they've done with their fight scenes. It's been brilliant. I did enjoy the voice acting. I thought Thor's voice acting was really good. It's a different kind of Thor from what we know, so he seemed a bit more dramatic, a bit more over the top kind of thing as well, which was great. And you know, Chris Hemsworth he's a good actor. He's a really good actor. I enjoy him as Thor. I think he's a very good Thor. The ending then as well, not just because the episode ended, but because of the reveal and the implications it's going to have on the final 2 episodes. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Made me salivating, wanting more. Not wanting more of that episode, though. The things I didn't like about it, like I say, I feel like there was a lot of stuff thrown together, and it just felt, it almost felt like they were trying too hard. The whole party thing and the Thor and Jane romance, it was all just kind of thrown together it's almost like threw so much at a wall and hoped that some of it would stick. I would have loved to see more of, as I say, the relationship with Thor and his family, so with Thor and Frigga and Odin, that side of things. I would have loved to see more than just party than aftermath. I don't think it went right. Korg was wasted. There was, Taika Waititi was his name was in the opening credits, and I thought I would have loved to see more of Korg. Howard the Duck did a bit, but I would I like to see more of that instead of just throwaway jokes. I want to see more of Howard the Duck. And it would have been perfect for him to actually, you can use you could have used the party stuff as an in to seeing some of these more wacky characters and get to know a bit more about these wacky characters as well. But yeah, I just feel like it was too. It's like Spider-Man 3. There was too much stuff stuffed into it that I thought would be good, but I just wasn't executed well enough for me. I understand that some people do like it, but that's the weak steps of the whole series for me. Might be controversial, I know, but that's the way it is. Like it or leave it. That's my opinion. So yeah, wasn't great. Okay, so over to Twitter again at DeliveryMCU if you'd like to let me know your thoughts on the podcast, on the episodes that we go through. That would be great. But first of all, we have a tweet from at Fsake Jamie. Really fun episode with yet again some stunning animation. Who knew Captain Marvel was such a party pooper? Again, I touched on the animation. It's brilliant. It really is fantastic. Like, I cannot fault the animation that they go with. The animation style. I think it was quite jarring to start off with at first with Captain Carter. It was quite an interesting style. It's almost like comic booky, but not. So I can understand why some people may be turned off by it, but you can see they're reaping the benefits of it now. At Foxy Snob said, loved it. Was a fun episode all around. Party Thor was a dude, and then a fantastic gif of Thor on Yankat. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Foxy. It's you guys already know my thoughts on this episode. At Mikey Cubed, thought it was a fun episode with some good laughs, especially after the last few weeks. Ending has me intrigued though. Yeah, absolutely. And again, I've touched on the fact that the ending for me is probably what saved the episode for me. But I understand why people would enjoy it. It was a lighthearted episode, to be fair. Again, I don't want to keep shit on it though. At Bulls Celtic, a very light and happy episode, which I really appreciated after earlier, more serious, heavy episodes. That ending, though, what? Yeah, I agree, Cal. It was a different change of pace, wasn't it? But again, I don't know if because we've been spoiled so far with some of them. I don't know. Whatever, it just didn't do for me. At Fluid Highway, finally getting the Thor vs Captain Marvel fight. Enjoyed it as a light-hearted, well-written story with a super intriguing ending. Yeah, and again, I've touched on the fact that the fight happened, and it is one of the top. It is one of the top sort of parts of the episode for me. I loved the fight, and again, the animation was just phenomenal. At Corky DM and in retrospect, I did not really enjoy that. I find myself losing interest as the weeks go on. Maybe it's excitement of Hawkeye's announcement. Every week I look forward to it, and every week I feel a little bit more let down. So Corky, I completely understand that. As you guys now know my thoughts on this episode. I've enjoyed the other episodes so far. I don't think every week I've been let down. But I feel that this time I have. I feel that this episode I have. The Hawkeye announcement is interesting. If you haven't seen the Hawkeye trailer, it looks really, really good. Like a Christmas series with Hawkeye, Haley Steinfeld obviously as well. We'll be doing a podcast around that. I'm really excited for that. But yeah, so me and Corky kind of have a similar type of opinion there. But guys, if you do want to have your tweets read out on stream, featured on stream, again, follow us at DeliveryMCU. And let us know when the episodes are over. As I said, there's only 2 more episodes left, so get your thoughts in now. So yes, that is us for another episode of What If. Not the best for me. It could have been done a lot better in my eyes, and it's kind of not me sad, but I've been a bit a bit downhearted for doing it. There's been a lot of stuff happen for me the last couple of days. If you follow me actually on Twitter, you'll kind of know there's been a couple of things that have popped up, and I've not really wanted. Not what to do. I think I've actually been putting off this episode, recording this episode because I didn't enjoy it so much, and it's so sad that an episode, one episode of a TV show that I've loved so far, it has actually made me feel that way, and it really sucks. But I'm really looking forward to the next 2 episodes. I think I don't see how they can go wrong with these last 2 episodes. There's so much that's going to come together, I feel, and it'll be good. I'm also going to see Shang-Chi today as well. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. There will be a podcast about that. It'll be a different format than what I've been doing for the episodes, because I can't obviously go through scene by scene for for Shang-Chi, but that will be coming hopefully sort of mid-October time. We'll see what happens. It might be the start of November, I'm not sure, but we've got Eternals coming out then as well. But we'll see what happens. And of course, Shang-Chi has been announced as being on Disney Plus for free on November the 12th. So if you don't want to go to cinemas, if you're still not comfortable with cinemas, you can wait until then and you'll get to see it on Disney Plus for free. But again, guys, thank you so much for the support and everything. I really appreciate it. Again, once more, if you want to join the Ko-fi for as little as £2 a month, you will get entered in the draw for the What If Captain Carter pop here. I do have 2 other pops as well that I will draw like 2 times. So we're definitely going to be doing 3 giveaways. So get your as I say, links in the link tree, but get signed up for that. I will be doing the draw on the 30th, which is a couple days time. It's Thursday. So if you haven't already, please go do so if you want to. You don't have to. Of course, you can continue supporting the podcast by purely listening and watching. It's just another way that I'm trying to get you guys involved and stuff as well. But we'll be back obviously next week, or sorry, well, tomorrow, Wednesday 29th, we have the next episode of What If. And I will hopefully, I should be able to get the episode out by the weekend, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But guys, in the meantime, thank you so much for all your support. I really appreciate it, and yeah, you all take care. Goodbye. Mwah.